Very excited to welcome Brijesh Agrawal, co-founder of Indiamart. Indiamart was one of the first B2B marketplace companies to list publicly in India. They have a market cap north of INR 14,000 crore.
One of the reasons why companies like IndiaMart been hugely successful without raising lots of money is because for us, cost of buyer acquisition actually has been almost zero. We were bringing in for an exporter initially, one single customer, even if they got within the year, that customer's order value would have run into tens of lakhs or even crores. We were the first ones in India who figured out what SEO used to be. If you were to write the name of any product, you will only see IndiaMart links. Journalists at BBC, they did a documentary on IndiaMart where they said that, look, we are the ones who are creating awareness of internet in India for businesses.
Welcome to this super exciting episode of the Accelerate Founder Academy. Our goal at Accelerate is to build one of the finest early stage accelerator programs in the world, helping founders from Bharat build large, generational, and iconic companies. Today, I'm very excited to be hosting a founder whose journey I've been following for many years and who has inspired many founders to build for Bharat. Very excited to welcome Brijesh Agrawal, co founder of Indiamart. When you think of Indiamart, I think few words immediately come to mind: patience, persistence, building profitably, building technology for business backbone of India, being super customer obsessed, and being super data focused. IndiaMart was one of the first B2B marketplace companies to list publicly in India. They have a market cap north of INR 14,000 crore. They are hugely profitable and are currently building a pre marketplace model to solve for the needs of 70 million small and medium businesses in India. Very excited to share Brijesh sir's journey with our audience today and learn how he built such a large company. Welcome to the Founder Academy, sir.
Thank you so much, Karan. Thank you for all these nice words.
Super excited to do this, sir. Sir, before we begin, would love to know a little bit about your background, your family background. Where did you grow up? Where did you study? And did you always know that you wanted to be a founder?
So I come from a typical Marwadi family, which is into trading business. My hometown is a place called Nanpara, which is a small town right on the border of Nepal, and it is about 160, kilometers north of Lucknow. We were one large joint family at one point in time.
Wow,
Almost about 50 of us used to live in one single house there.
amazing.
So we had a fantastic childhood that ways. And as you would expect, being in a Marwadi family, the first thing that you get exposed to is counting numbers, managing money, doing business. So that is something that has been the DNA for us ever since the beginning itself. And since you asked whether I always wanted to be a founder, there was no such aspiration at all. I didn't even know what did I want to do. It's just that studies were happening in. But one thing was for sure, that at some point in time you will do business, whether it is the
Hmm.
parental business or it is any other new business. That is something which would have come naturally. But frankly speaking, since my elder brother Dinesh had already decided to start off India Mart at that time, I was just 19 and a half when India Mart started. So frankly speaking, I didn't have a lot of maturity or time even to think about whether I wanted to be an entrepreneur or not. I just joined him,
Amazing.
and that's how it started.
Awesome. And where did you study? And like what were you studying? Or where were you working before you started IndiaMart?
So, IndiaMart, as I said, started off when I was 19 and a half. I was pursuing my graduation second year. I was at Lucknow University at that time. I did my schooling from three places. One in my hometown, Nanpara. Then I went to Birla Vidya Mandir, Nainital, and then to St. Francis College, Lucknow. And then eventually did my graduation from Lucknow University, and that's when India Mart sort of started off. And then I came to Delhi, finished off my PG here.
Got it.
In PG again, I got a placement in the at the end of the third semester itself.
Hmm.
And I was exempted from attending the fourth semester because I already had high grades in the first three semesters, so that I could easily qualify even if I didn't appear for
Wow.
the exam. So our dean actually allowed us. I was hired by a consulting firm in Bangalore. There I worked for about 11 months. And at the same time, I also set up Indiamart's Bangalore office parallelly.
Oh,
So I used to
interesting.
earn from this job. And then on the weekends, I would go ahead and set up the office, also do meetings with potential customers,
That's the
hired a couple of
entrepreneurial hustle.
yeah. So that's how it just happened. So in terms of work experience, being a part of a supply chain consulting firm, and that too a German consulting firm, I actually learned about being number oriented, data oriented, and going deep into understanding what actually is the problem before you start out
Hmm.
to design any solution altogether. So that's the only work experience. Otherwise, I've whatever I've learned has been while building up IndiaMart.
Amazing, amazing. And so, like, you mentioned that you were very like data oriented, right? And you still are, right? So, like, what was the initial insight about IndiaMart that made you start this company? And then, essentially, how has it evolved? Over the last like 25 years, it's been a journey, right? So, has the idea changed over times, or like has the core thesis been the same?
So if you look at our initial journey, I wouldn't say we were very, very data oriented at that point in time. I think in any typical family business, you would identify a problem that you think is exciting enough to solve, and then just start building it up. Right from the word go, saying that okay, whatever comes as a problem, I will go ahead and solve it as it comes,
Hmm.
rather than think through it in detail, prepare. So we started off like that, and by the way, a bit of a context will be helpful for you. Started off on 1st of April 96. Internet in India was launched on 15th of August 1995. This is about
Wow.
7.5 months before we started off. At that time, there were just about 500 internet connections across India,
My God.
right? Forget about Delhi. Across India, you just about had about 500 odd internet connections. Uh, Had we been data oriented, probably we would not have started off with this venture at all. We were so fascinated by the power of internet, having experienced it ourselves, that we felt that look, this is something which is going to dramatically change the way
Hmm.
we try to find information. And that fascination was so strong that we said, come what may, let us just start off something in this particular area, because this is going to
Hmm.
boom, and as it booms, we will obviously be the beneficiary of the tailwinds that come along with it. So
Got
we
it.
started off with that. The first few years were terrible. First 6 months were, absolutely. I can't express it in words, but we were all devastated in that sense. At some point in time, we also thought whether this is something we would ever want to do at.
Hmm.
But thankfully, because of the wisdom that we had from our grandfather, he essentially, without understanding what computers are, what internet is, he essentially gave us the finest life learnings that we've ever had, and kept us in the hunt for building something out here. So we just hung along, trying to build this business there. And also, coming in from a typical Marwadi business family, you were not allowed to burn money, right? So
Hmm.
there was no
Interesting.
concept of a loss. There was no concept of taking debt. There was no concept of taking money from anybody, in fact, to build your own
Hmm.
business altogether. So we had to figure out a profitable way of building the company out. So the first focus was, whatever we are trying to do, who's the right customer, how do we convince him to buy our products? So we've been a profitable company right from day one. I think except for our journey around 2013, 2014, when we had spent a lot of money around building up the brand.
Hmm.
I don't think in any year we have been loss making at all. So profitable all throughout. We figured out how to sell to MSMEs profitably, which a very very few limited number of companies have been able to do in their entire lifetime so far. But the initial 4 year period, as I said, they were so difficult, but yet they were so enriching in terms of helping us understand the psyche of these businesses. What do
Hmm.
they want? How is it to be delivered to them? How to service? How to acquire customers? Learn that bit. We then, post those 4 years, when the dot com boom and the bust both had happened already, we then started to focus on building up an international marketplace, which is what
Interesting.
the initial idea was. Right, we actually started off with the idea of building that, but in the first 6 months we realized that, if there are only 500 internet connections, how will people ever come and register themselves online?
Hmm.
So we services business, we built websites, we did SEO for exporters here. But then when there was enough amount of visibility, awareness about internet, that's when we started to rebuild the entire international marketplace.
Hmm.
Built that out until 2008, when the Lehman crisis happened, which meant that exports couldn't be a great focus area for us to grow. By
Hmm.
that time, we had already, by the way, built up a business which was close to about 50 crores in top line.
Oh wow.
And
So just helping sellers from India sell internationally.
yeah, so not sell. We just help these exporters from India to get leads and inquiries
Oh,
from
interesting.
buyers outside of India. We've always
Got it.
been a marketplace which is been helping connect buyers and sellers. We've never
Hmm.
ever gone into enabling sales or logistics or payments by ourselves. That is
Hmm.
something which you see commonly in case of B2C commerce companies, but in
Hmm.
B2B, that is best done by these businesses who've been doing it over the years.
Correct.
So we actually leave it to them there. Uh, so by until 2008 2009 is we built this out, but seeing that manufacturing in India was not growing,
Hmm.
exports were not really taking any big leaps, we thought that if we have to grow the business, we need to focus on the domestic B2B. And
Hmm.
that's when the switch happened
Interesting.
from exports to B2B within India as a market. Went on to build the right product for that market from there on. And then we finally found our real product market fit around 2014. And
Wow.
this is
So even
after
5 years
18 years.
after, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. 5 years after this and 18 years after starting the
into the
company is
business.
when we really found the right product market fit. So what you see of IndiaMart today, essentially that story started off only around 2009. Uh, all that was all, let's say, pivots and hustles to just stay afloat, and keep trying to figure out what really would work and what really would help us scale.
Hmm.
So that's how
Ve-
the journey for us has been.
Very interesting. And like, how did you know that the company had kind of hit product market fit? Like let's say in 2013, 2014. Like, what were some of those signals that you started looking at? Like, did you look at metrics like obviously like retention, right? Like how many times are people using the platform? Like, are the number of sellers like organically referring other sellers? Like, so what were some key indicators that kind of led you to understand that now the company has kind of reached product market fit?
So one indicator clearly is the number of RFQs or business inquiries that each business started to receive
Hmm.
consistently. That was one set. Second was what percentage of buyers who were posting an RFQ were eventually able to do business with an IndiaMart supplier.
Hmm.
Right. For us, the financial metric of cost of customer acquisition, and then retention, and then ARPU actually came in next, because for you to have a product market fit, the buyer and the seller community which you're trying to serve
Hmm.
essentially their interests have to be fulfilled. So a
Hmm.
buyer has to come back and say that if I come and post 10 RFQs here, at least on 8 or 9, I should be able to find the right seller.
Correct.
Similarly, the seller says that if I am actually reaching out to 10 buyers on the platform,
Hmm.
can I convert one or two out of them at least on a bare minimum basis as my customer? That is
Yeah.
something that actually got established. And then obviously, our cost of customer acquisition, the retention percentages, the kind of ARPU that we could monetize from these customers. These were the other metric that we would go back and look at there.
Got it, got it. And so, like, since we're talking about, helping sellers match with the right buyers, and helping, helping them with incremental revenue and incremental business, right? So, so what are some key elements, of a B2B marketplace business, right? Like, I mean, uh, like if let's say I'm a young founder, I'm starting in this space, right? Like one question that a founder would always have is like, do I kind of go after do I build the supply first or do I build the demand first, right? Like is that like one element, right? Or like how it's a massive network effect business as well, right? Like the more number of quality supply you'll have on the platform, which would mean like you'll have good buyers, and then eventually those buyers will get connected with the sellers, and they'll get incremental leads, and this is how the word of mouth would grow, right? So this is a very big network effects business. This is a business where essentially you need to get the supply and demand matching right. Like you need to have your own algorithms to kind of match the two correctly, right? What are some key elements like of a B2B market place business that like when founders are building out today that they should look at?
When you look at any marketplace, you rightly said that on one end there will be sellers, and then on the other end, uh, in most of the cases, when you look at examples across the world, people have started up building up the supply as a base first, right? You need to have
Interesting.
certain minimum number of suppliers being available on the platform. Obviously, it's not an easy job to go and onboard them, knowing for a fact that they may not get the requisite amount of business right from day one. So, building actually is essential. Second, when you are building these marketplaces, you anyway would be spending money to acquire these sellers, right? Even if you it's a freemium model, you acquire them on free, but you still need to invest your money in accessing their data, working with them to get details about their products, specifications, prices, etc. That's the first thing that most marketplace builders have gone ahead and done. Um, However, when you look at most successful marketplaces, they actually have been the ones where either the acquisition of sellers or the acquisition of buyers, that has been done without spending a lot of money, right? So,
Interesting.
in fact, one of the reasons why companies like Indiamart or let's say Alibaba B2B in China, they've been hugely successful without raising lots of money is because for us, cost of buyer acquisition actually has been almost zero ever since the beginning. uh, we
Wow.
were we were the first ones in India, I can proudly say, who figured out what SEO used to be or what SEO was. In fact,
Interesting.
between 96 2000 kind of a time period, if you were to write the name of any product that you would write on any of the search engines, including Yahoo, Google, AltaVista, Hotpot, Webcrawler, for tens of their pages, you will only see IndiaMart links,
Wow.
right? We knew how to really get one page onto the top listings tomorrow. It was as
Hmm.
quick and as easy and
My
as
god.
fast as that for us. So, frankly, we never had to spend money in acquiring, let's say, initially international buyers from outside of India and then buyers from within India. Even
Hmm.
today, when you go ahead and write anything on Google and say, I need a supplier, manufacturer for this product,
India
by
Mart
default,
generally is like, yeah.
you will see IndiaMart in the top results there. So
Correct.
that is something which we had cracked early on, and therefore building that side of the marketplace became a lot more easier and
Hmm.
faster for us,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that meant that we didn't need to raise capital. It also meant that we could reach out to a much wider audience.
Hmm.
Anybody who comes on internet will go to a search engine, and therefore we are present right up there in front of
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
So that really actually helped quite a bit. But then the larger focus, if you see, on why we have been more successful than a lot of other companies who
Hmm.
tried to build similar B2B marketplaces in India,
Hmm.
has been the focus on one, aggregating large amount of data
Hmm.
consistently.
Hmm.
uh, right from 96 till date, there is an obsession that if I do not find one particular company's information available on IndiaMart,
Hmm.
people would ask themselves this question: how did I really miss this company
Hmm.
to be added to IndiaMart at all?
Hmm. Hmm.
And we
And is
would
this across
go
categories?
across categories. This is
Hmm.
like any business in India,
Hmm. Hmm.
any
Wow.
business,
Wow.
right? And it has to be there. Any
Hmm.
business which is B2B has to be there.
Hmm.
And that focus, that passion to get every seller on board, you can see
Hmm.
it all across, every single team, every single team member would want to do this.
Hmm.
Second, when you look at a developing country like India, where
Hmm.
phone numbers, for example, kept changing every 2 years, 3 years,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
You would still remember late 90s, early 2000s. This is something which is a common phenomenon. How do you keep the information accurate,
Relevant. Yeah.
updated?
Yeah.
This is something which was a very difficult problem to solve. We
Hmm.
continue to invest behind that. In fact, whatever money we made in the business was invested back in doing this.
Interesting.
Third, when you look at small businesses, you will not see them having brochures. You will not see
Hmm.
them having doc files with images of their products with specifications. This is not something that existed anywhere.
Hmm.
So we would have to go sit with them, click photographs, write down these descriptions with them, create these catalogs. We
Interesting.
created that information,
Hmm.
right? It was not just a contact information directory where name of the
Hmm.
company and phone number
Hmm.
and email were.
Hmm. Hmm.
Actually built up the entire catalog for these companies, because
Hmm.
within B2B, for you to take a decision, you need
Hmm.
all of this information right up there. So
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
quality of information, the volume of data
Hmm.
about sellers and their
Hmm.
products,
Hmm.
that has been a pursuit which we
Hmm.
continue to have, and that is where we have been better than everybody else in this entire
Hmm.
market,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Buyer acquisition, over a period of time, a lot of people learned how to do that.
Hmm.
But since
Correct.
we had the most extensive information, most relevant and most accurate information,
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
even if Google has to show you results
Yeah.
without IndiaMart data, it will not be able to show you accurate B2B
Hmm.
results
Hmm.
altogether.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is the kind of aggregation that
Hmm.
we've been able to do here within
Hmm.
India. It's a very fragmented marketplace, very, very hard to build.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. And like, was this always like for getting good sellers on the platform and essentially getting a lot of their relevant data on the platform? Like, was it always like a fleet on street model, uh, which would then essentially build trust with these businesses as well, or like was that also acquired through technology and then essentially, you'd also have your teams then visit these places and then verify the data as well?
So in fact, it all started with 100% feet on street model, because in 96, as I said, people didn't even know what internet was.
Yeah.
So forget
Yeah.
about IndiaMart. We had to first sell internet to them as to why
Yeah.
internet is going to be useful, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
had to really do this education. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the journalists at BBC, they were doing some study in Moradabad on
Hmm.
handicraft exports. Everybody that they met with told them that there are these folks from IndiaMart who come us and who teach us on how to use internet so that we could reach out to buyers. So in fact, they did a documentary on IndiaMart where they said that, look, we are the ones who are creating awareness of internet in India for
Hmm.
businesses.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? A lot of people would write to us saying that, are you a entity of government of India who would do
Wow.
this kind of a data aggregation and
Yeah.
awareness campaigns? But look, we had to survive there, so we had to
Yeah.
educate people about internet. That
Yeah.
couldn't have been done using any technology. Those
Yeah.
were times when phones also were not common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cost of calls were very, very expensive. So it all started with feet on street. Today, in fact, if you see, it's a mix of both feet on street as well as technology. But
Hmm.
uh, when you are looking at micro and small businesses who are our
Hmm.
primary customers,
Hmm.
for them, DIY model in India still does not work.
Hmm. Interesting.
They need hand holding, they need
Hmm.
people to talk to them. But yes,
Hmm.
the reliance on 100% feet on street obviously has now given way to
Yeah.
uh, doing things over the phone,
Yeah.
doing things over an app. So the percentage spread across feet on street, across telephone, across technology, that has been moving in favor of telephone and technology.
Hmm, interesting. And I think your focus, on getting such relevant data and getting such relevant, suppliers also kind of meant that, there was lesser friction on the platform, and essentially like you were able to build trust, with all the demand that you were generating, right? Because like, like buyers would be able to connect with the right sellers who had the right information on the platform, right? And the most relevant and the most updated information as well. So I think your efforts in terms of building that great supply and great quality supply also kind of meant that you were able to develop that brand trust on the demand side.
Correct. So if you see, one important factor when you're looking at building up a marketplace is also time.
Hmm.
If you are a very impatient founder or an investor who wants to build this up very, very quickly,
Hmm.
right? I at least I can't see any other way out rather than burning a lot of money there.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you really look at our own journey, as I said, we found our product market fit after 18 years of doing
Yeah.
this,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So imagine the kind of time we had of
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to aggregate this content bit by bit,
Yeah.
and therefore rather than focusing on any vertical, we focused on a horizontal marketplace.
Yeah.
And a lot of categories where we aggregated sellers did not get any business altogether because there weren't
Hmm.
enough buyers available for those
Yeah.
categories initially at that point in time.
Yeah.
But it was fine. What we discovered with this approach is which categories actually are working at what point in time.
Hmm. Hmm.
That industrial goods is something which actually wasn't working initially.
Interesting.
We thought, this is an area where it is so hard to find sellers, but it didn't
Hmm.
work initially. Today, it is
Hmm.
one of the largest categories
Wow.
contributing to the overall business. So things have evolved, things have
Hmm.
changed.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, handicraft apparel, were like industries selling like hotcakes.
Hmm.
Today, you look at industrial goods, building construction material, chemicals.
Hmm.
These
Hmm.
are categories which will contribute significantly more
Hmm.
than a lot of other categories. So
Hmm.
we were able to see the trends on where is it
Hmm.
that you are able to get buyers, and
Hmm.
then we molded our monetization engine towards
Hmm.
those categories
Hmm.
as when the right time really came in.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. And I think that's why, in the introduction as well, I like use one word, which is patience, right? Like, like figuring out the business over 18 years, right? Like, eventually requires a lot of time, patience, persistence, right? And like in the scenario that we have today, right? Like essentially where, consumer internet has evolved from those 500 users to let's say 700, 800 million users on the internet, right? So, do you think that founders can still use this kind of approach, build patiently, build for the long term? Or I mean, does today, like if you're looking at like a founder's looking at building a B2B marketplace, maybe vertical, right? Do they require a lot of capital to kind of then get into this space?
Okay, so I fundamentally have a philosophy around, you know, uh, When is it that you would need a lot of time or less time versus lot of money versus less money? And there's a very simple framework that we follow. In my opinion, when we look at any business, there are two crucial elements. One is what is the value in the eyes
Hmm.
of the customer for a product or a service that you are delivering to them, and then what is the cost of that same product or service for it to be delivered to the customer. The larger the gap between
Hmm.
the value and the cost, the lesser is the reliance that you will have on capital, or you would have to really worry about time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right, the lesser the gap between the value, the perceived value,
Hmm. Hmm.
versus the actual cost,
Hmm.
the higher is the struggle, where a
Hmm.
lot of cash comes into play, and therefore time also sort of
Hmm.
becomes very very short for people, because people with larger sums of capital
Hmm.
can burn you out very very
Hmm.
quickly,
Hmm.
just because
Hmm.
they have access to a lot of capital,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Which is what soft banks of the world have been trying to do across the world,
Hmm.
right? So, in our business, when we looked at building up IndiaMart, the value that we were bringing in for an exporter initially, right? That
Hmm.
one single customer, even if they got within the year, that
Yeah.
customer's order value would have run into tens of lakhs or even crores. And the
Yeah. Yeah.
money that it took us to deliver that particular product or service would
Yeah.
run into a few thousands only.
Yeah. So the
And
ROI
therefore,
for the seller was massive.
no, I'm saying the ROI will depend upon how we price the product,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the differential between value for the buyer and the
Was
cost
huge.
for us was
Yeah.
tremendous. So even
Yeah.
when we said, look, I will build a business with 30% margin,
Hmm.
the price for the buyer was still very,
Hmm.
very low.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, if you deliver value worth 100 rupees and it
Hmm.
costs
Hmm.
you to deliver that value for 50 rupees,
Hmm.
right? You will, let's say, price the product at 70, 75,
Correct.
80,
Correct.
right? Which
Correct.
means the customer will not see it as a very exciting proposition.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if the value that you deliver is 100 and the cost for you is 1 rupee,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if you price it at 10,
Correct.
the customer will see this as a great value for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think one of the things that founders should really look at is to identify problems where this
Hmm.
value cost differential is extremely
Hmm.
high.
Hmm.
If they
Hmm.
do that,
Hmm.
I think they can build the business patiently, without
Hmm.
needing a lot of capital,
Hmm.
without getting into those anxious moments of life and death, wherein if tomorrow somebody doesn't come in with a large check, they will die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those kind of scenarios will not exist for
Yeah.
those businesses. Whereas
Interesting.
for founders who decide to look at other businesses,
Hmm.
uh, what you see in the e-commerce game, for example, is a business where the perceived value versus the cost, that differential is quite low,
Hmm.
right? It's a large market opportunity. There is no doubt about it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then what it means is you as a founder should have the skill set to be able to raise tons of capital,
Yeah.
right? As and when you really want it. If you
Yeah.
don't have that capability, then don't get into that business.
Hmm.
When you look at the public listed companies, how many companies would you find who would have raised billions of dollars to build that kind of a size and scale? If
Hmm.
you look at
Hmm.
that number is so small
Correct.
that
Correct.
you will be convinced that there is no dearth of ideas of building up large scale
Hmm.
businesses or
Hmm. Hmm.
highly valued businesses
Hmm.
without having to deploy tons of capital in the beginning. But
Hmm. Hmm.
you'll have to go ahead and find those kinds of opportunities or those kind of problems where the
Yeah.
value
Yeah.
versus cost gap is very very high.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very, very interesting framework, for any founder to kind of look at, like spend a lot of time on your problem, on your why, on the need that you are solving, right? Identify that category where there's, perceived value versus the cost in terms of your leverage is very high, so that then you can price it accordingly, still provide incremental value and still have high gross margins on the business.
Correct, because see, when you look at say a Flipkart or an Amazon in India today, they spend value in getting a seller on board. They
Yeah,
spend a lot of money in getting the buyers by giving discounts, by doing advertising. Now they are actually spending money on both ends to get them to a
yeah,
platform. So the
yeah, yeah.
cost of delivering a value is exceptionally high. And then, when you're selling a phone, what value can you deliver which is additional to what is being delivered offline? Right?
Hmm.
And therefore, they used capital as a tool to start to differentiate, by building up logistics as a network. So home
Yeah.
deliveries, cash on delivery,
Same day
they
delivery.
burned
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of money. They did a lot of innovation
yeah.
to do this bit, right? To create this. But at the same time, you will also have a company like Zoho in the country, never raised any capital,
Yeah,
right? Built up a international business.
yeah,
The most phenomenal top line, bottom line growth rates that you could see today in any e-commerce business,
yeah.
right? And they do what they want to do because there's no
Hmm.
monkey sitting on their back.
Yeah. Interesting, interesting. So, so I would also, love to understand, your thesis, on the whole SMB digitization in the country, right? Like, like I think last 3 years, like IndiaMart has, made multiple investments in other companies as well. You've bought some companies outright as well, and like one could see a trend where you kind of, like going deeper into certain categories like accounting, helping businesses with GST, tax filing, legal, invoicing, logistics, supply chain visibility, right? So so like can you elaborate a little bit on that strategy, like why this, why this, why now, and like between these categories like accounting, legal, GST, or logistics, like what are some categories which according to you might get digitized first as compared to some other categories?
So one, the investments that we have gone ahead and made in various businesses, we categorize into two parts. One is the accounting software business, which we think is something which is an additional need for our existing
Hmm.
target customer base of micro and small businesses. It fits in well,
So
very
that's
very
the
well.
so that's the initial thought that like what is an existing need which you can solve to your existing customer.
Correct. So we said that, look, we have always been a high growth company. All these 27 years, we only have been focused on solving one problem, which is how do I help a small business find a new customer? Right?
Hmm.
That is what we've been doing all these 27 years. We've not
Yeah.
done anything else apart from this.
Incredible.
Uh, Now, if you were to look at the next 25 years, next 30 years for us, and still remain a high growth company, we said that we need to now start picking up the second problem that we can go and solve for these existing customers. So,
Hmm.
we become very relevant for them,
Hmm.
right? You get a higher wallet share. We know these customers, how to sell them, how to service them.
Yeah.
So that comes in as an advantage, and it also allows us to improve the customer retention, because if you're solving multiple things for the same customer, it's
The
it's very
stickiness.
difficult for a customer to leave you. The
Yeah.
stickiness goes up.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we said accounting, we are thoroughly convinced is the second problem, because AST, compliances, taxation, accounting has become extremely critical,
Hmm.
and it's also complex.
Hmm.
So we look at that business. That's a clear cut business opportunity that we will pursue. We are going to build a business out of it by ourselves, and that's how we
Hmm.
also went ahead and did 100% acquisition,
Yeah.
large
Yeah.
acquisition for ourselves. When you look at the other investments, these are investments which are in companies who are trying to solve problems associated
Hmm.
with, and ensuring a complete commerce experience on the B2B side. So
Hmm.
some of these are on the finance payment side, some of these are on logistics side, some of these are on pure, let's say, automation of existing processes, existing system
Hmm.
side, which MSMEs typically use. There, our view is that we will work with these founders, these companies, to see, how MSME customer base or the business customers
Is
that they
evolving.
serve is evolving over a period of time, and how can we leverage the power of India Mart network
Yeah.
to one help them grow, as well as let's say tomorrow, if for a certain portion of our buyers and sellers we need to enable commerce, we are
Hmm.
able to build an ecosystem around it. So that is something
Hmm.
which is a very long term view that we are
Hmm.
trying to do. It'll evolve over a period of time,
Hmm.
right? And therefore, those investments typically are from the viewpoint that while we work with other founders of those companies where we've invested in, we see how this space evolves, and then we are ahead of time as compared to any other competition in this field to
Hmm.
go back and try to solve emerging new problems of these customers that we serve today.
Interesting, interesting. I think one trend that I am really picking up is that your focus, obviously, on in terms of whether perceived value is high and the cost is low, right? Like if you look at accounting tech as well, like it's a non-glamorous category. Like you'll not have a lot of massive VC funded companies in this space. You'll have a lot of like traditional businesses being built over years, being built over trust, right? Delivering value, right? So I think there's this one clear focus on non-glamorous categories, categories which are not like really great from a VC point of view, but also where there's a definite cost advantage. You can leverage your existing relationships or existing customer base, and the value also is very high for a business, because obviously challenges like GST, like there's so many documentation that you need to do post GST as well. So like that also is a big problem to solve, right? So I think again, super interesting. And so like according to you, like if like they're young founders, like who are building in this space, like there's 70 million SMEs in India, right? They could like around 10 million businesses which are GST registered, right? So what are some more categories, like if you were to spill some secrets or give us some insights in terms of like generally categories that you are excited by, that which are high growth in the immediate term, which are found opportunities that founders can pursue.
Well, so I wouldn't say there's something that we will say is available in immediate term, because if there was something in the immediate term, we would have definitely wanted to do it by ourselves. But some of these areas which we do see emerging in the medium term or in the long term here, one clearly is people building up vertical commerce plays within the
Hmm.
B2B space.
Hmm.
Um, you
And
know,
any particular categories there?
No, there are multiple categories, in fact,
Hmm.
that people have sort of tried to build business models on. You can look at off business, you could look at infra market, Medica Bazaar.
Hmm.
There are tons of
FMCG.
these companies which are trying to solve these problems. But I'm saying that's one area of opportunity that people would be able to look at. Second, and which is going to work according to me only in the long run, is that the adoption of SaaS by small businesses in India.
Interesting.
I think that is something which is clearly visible, that will up, even though you will not be able to monetize it as well as you can do it
Hmm.
in the
In
Western
the Western
countries.
market. Yeah.
But I think, as I said, if you were to look at a 10, 15, 20-year kind of a horizon,
Yeah.
very, very exciting opportunities that one could really look at there. Third is that, if you look at uh, business coaching altogether, that as a business, even though it doesn't get talked about these days quite a lot, but at least the three or four business coaches that I know of, if I combine their annual turnover and the kind of pat they make,
Wow.
uh, it will be in excess. So the top line will be in excess of 500 crores. Pat would be in excess of
Wow.
250 crores for them. And these are folks who are actually helping small, mid-sized businesses in how
And they're
to
doing it in a
streamline.
they're doing it in a scaled way, or like is it like more one to one?
So the largest, for example, such business coach, who only does coaching specifically, Last year I think did 180 crores in top line, 120 crores in PAT,
My God.
right? So he kind of does an MBA program for all of these entrepreneurs. Each entrepreneur pays about 10 lakh rupees for that program, and one batch is of 350 students.
My God.
so so there is a great opportunity in people who have a way
Yeah.
to communicate to these small and mid-sized businesses and help them
Hmm.
understand on how to build teams, how to measure, monitor business performance, how to automate, how to do sales. That's another interesting opportunity which actually is coming up quite well here.
Interesting, interesting. Sir, would love to, like changing trajectory and, I know I'm also conscious of your time. Would love to kind of, understand how, like how you have evolved as a founder when you were in your 0 to 1 journey, let's say from, 96 to 2009, right? Then essentially 1 to 100, where essentially you were, 2009, 10 onwards till 2000, till you were listed maybe. And now, obviously running such a large, 14,000 crore market cap, hugely profitable listed company, right? So how does, like how have you evolved, and like how can founders also, like make that shift, as their companies grow?
In fact, the early days, let's say the first 10, 12 years of our journey, we were more like, uh, people who would say, break things today, build it tomorrow, again break it day after tomorrow, then again build it again. So it was more like
Yeah.
you were really working on the go, right?
Hmm.
As things used to come, you would want to make changes, do things, do experiments, figure out what is working, what is not working at a fast pace. And at that time, therefore, the importance of building up processes, systems, teams, hierarchies, that is something which was very, very low.
Hmm.
It was a very, very high touch model where we were deeply involved in every
Hmm.
single thing. We wanted to meet lots of customers, spend time with our team members, understand each and every word that we used to hear,
Yeah.
what is being said, what is not being said, right? And try and understand what's the underlying problem that one really needs to solve for. So, those were things that we used to do at that point in time. A lot of
Hmm.
focus was on being frugal, cost consciousness was inbuilt, uh, tons of focus only on, selling, selling, selling
Hmm.
in that sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
The way we used to run business was like from morning till late night, right? Eh, Too deeply involved into the operations.
Hmm.
And then suddenly, when we raised capital from Intel Capital at the end of 2000, and they set up a board for us in 2009. When the board really came in and saw the way we were working, I think one transition really that came in there for us is they actually convinced us and also taught us the importance of measurement and
Hmm.
monitoring. So
Hmm.
one question
Interesting.
that was asked is that if you don't get to come to office for the next 30 days, right, will this business still run the way it is running at this point in time,
Hmm.
right? And the answer was no, for that matter. So he said, okay, uh, how do you really go ahead and build that? And we learned a lot from the experience of our board members on how to do measurement, right? Where is it that we can actually measure every bit of data? Where is it that we needed to have proxies of data? So
Hmm.
that how do you control or understand what's happening inside the business using data? That came in,
Hmm. Interesting.
and also came in an exercise of building up a professional management team alongside us.
Hmm.
So, hiring of senior folks. Why do you need senior folks? What role will they come in and play? What is it that we need to do as founders to get them
Hmm.
comfortable to sort of start coming in and building this out? This is what happened around 2010 to about, let's say, 2019, when we sort of listed. And during this time period, things kept on evolving for us. About 3 years before we listed, we internally decided that we will have to go ahead and look at a potential listing. So why don't we start behaving like a public listed company, even though we are not?
Wow, that's
So,
interesting.
so we started to prepare data, publish it quarterly, monthly,
Amazing.
set up an internal board.
And only for internal review.
Only for internal review. It was
Wow.
as if we were, putting it out for the public investors altogether. We set up an internal board which had people from our own business as well as some board members, plus some advisors that we had gotten on board, and they would question us on the performance, on the data. So we did that. We built up a fairly decent size legal and compliance team altogether, which would ensure that we stay a company which has highest levels of corporate governance, absolutely compliant. In a way, we prepared for about 3 years,
Wow.
before we really went to public. And therefore, when a lot of people ask us a question, how has your life changed after going public? Frankly, nothing has changed for us, literally, right? Absolutely nothing. This is what we had been doing
Yeah.
all along.
Yeah.
And you will get to see the kind of or the volume of data that we really share with the public market investors is one of the most substantial data sets that anybody has ever seen.
Yeah.
So fairly transparent, because this is what is happening actually inside the business day in, day out. We are
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
comfortable with that. So that is how life has been. But now, yes, when we're looking at, for example, solving for another problem, this is not a grounds up build up that we are doing. For the first
Yeah.
time, we acquired a business.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
acquired a business which is a family run business done for last 27 years. Now, how do we convert that business into a high growth business which will stay relevant for the next 50 years?
Yeah.
That's a challenge, right? That's something that we are learning at this moment of time. When we're looking at investing in different kinds of business opportunities, we are actually spending time on foreseeing what is going to happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, and how we can be prepared to face those changes which are going to come in. So the journey in that sense has changed. What we do, obviously, the nature of that has gone ahead and changed over these three phases that you see.
Very interesting how it's, like it's almost evolved from doing and executing to then leading to now, almost becoming an investor in your own company and kind of reviewing the data and building up those processes, right? So super interesting. I think would love to, we have this section where we do a rapid fire and we try to know the person behind the business, right? So so I'd ask you like a few questions, and like I mean, like more on the personal side, and would love to know more about you, which maybe like public markets, or people generally don't know, right? So
Yeah, because in case otherwise, if you would have asked any rapid fire stuff, my only response would have been, Karan, please give me some time. Let me think through it and come back.
amazing. So what's the best way for you to unwind?
I love to sleep.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's such an honest answer. Like how many hours would you sleep on a daily basis?
Generally, about 7 hours on weekdays. Sundays, I will take another, let's say, 3 hour nap in the afternoon.
Wow, that's awesome. One thing people don't know about you.
A lot of people in the professional world would not know my love for music,
Oh,
all kinds of
interesting.
music, and this is not just Hindi music or Western songs, but Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, Persian music. Uh,
Wow.
so I would listen to a lot of these songs. I would love to read about people who write these songs. I'm a big fan of, by the way, Jagjit Singh and all the shayars who've written those beautiful, nazms and shairis.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people don't know of. If anybody who gets to see it will say, "Acha, tum itne romantic bhi ho," right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's something that not many people know of.
Amazing. I'm also a big Shiv Kumar Batalvi fan, so like, yeah, love his poetry.
Correct.
Great. What's your favorite travel destination in India?
I think I'm not very fond of traveling, so but still, if I ever have to travel, I travel to my hometown. That I love that place.
Amazing. Uh, what are your three favorite foods?
Okay, interesting. Dal bati for one. Uh,
Staying true to your Marwari roots.
this is like, wherever I see dal bati, I'm just on to it. I
Yeah.
just can't leave it. Uh, Second is I love to have fresh malai, from cow milk with bread, toast, basically. So that's the
Amazing.
other
You
thing that
you
I like.
find this amazing. There's this amazing company in Calcutta. Which does this. Like on the roadside, they'll serve chai and this malai toast with sugar.
Kona Dukan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it there. I love that place also. And then third is, at home we make this badam ka halwa and aate ka halwa,
Hmm.
which is almost like semi-liquid. It's not very solid the way you get halwa. That's the
So it's
other thing.
almost like dripping in ghee.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's the third thing.
Amazing. So my wife is also Marwari, and like I can totally relate to all these three dishes. Great. What's the best way for you to spend the weekend?
And weekends generally is spent, as I said, 3 hours of sleep in the afternoon, and then mostly with kids, or other family members who are there. So there are four of us, four brothers here, who stay close by. So I think the time is spent amongst all of us together.
Amazing. Like generally in the company, do you have a 5 day working or a 6 day working?
5 day working, but I work 6 days. Saturday is work from home for me. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I only get Sundays as the time.
Got it. Got it. What's your favorite consumer internet company from India?
I don't know if it's a consumer internet company, but I am a big fan of Zoho.
Yeah.
The way it was built, and I mentioned that earlier. That's an ideal example of how an entrepreneur can go about building up a business without any additional external capital.
Yeah.
Solid business, global business, and it solves for real problems that these
Yeah.
businesses have at scale.
Yeah. Yeah. I think then my next question is also kind of answered. I wanted to ask you who's your favorite Indian CEO, but
No, 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 no. So that's another guy, by the way.
interesting.
If you were to ask about an individual, then this is going to be Bhavin Turakhia.
Hmm.
Again, this guy, he has, I think, exited three companies already
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he built.
Yeah.
He does not come to the fore at every single place. He
Yeah.
will keep it to himself. He's now building up Zeta,
Yeah.
which is another multi-billion dollar business that he's already created. This guy is phenomenal.
Amazing. And finally, like, what would be your one advice for early stage founders who are looking at building in the B2B space or SaaS space in India?
See, I think the core philosophy about value cost is one thing that I would always want to share with every entrepreneur. Uh, uh, I also do that because that's our DNA, right?
Hmm.
If we were building up a business where there was the difference between value and cost was less, I don't think we
Yeah.
have the DNA of building up a successful business like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it comes from the fact there, but what it does to entrepreneurs is that you build up a business for next 50 years, 70 years, 100 years, because it is based on that basic
Hmm.
principle.
Hmm.
uh, Money is not the only way of building up a business, right? Money can become an enabler in solving some of the problems in building up the business, But when people flaunt that I have raised X amount of capital and therefore I am successful, I
Hmm.
think that is something that I would advise everybody to avoid.
Hmm. Got it. Like, and instead of celebrating the raising capital, you celebrate actually execution and people who build large businesses.
Yeah, you said, I've acquired my 100th customer, I've acquired my 1,000th customer, I've acquired my
Yeah.
10,000th customer. I think
Yeah.
that calls for a much bigger celebration than I raised $50 million.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time. Finally, I couldn't let you go, without, having like some thoughts of yours on Accelerate as well, right? So, at Accelerate, we're looking to help young founders, early stage founders, learn from some of the best founders in the country, right? So, like, what, like, generally do you think about the idea, and where do you think, we can add value to young founders?
Well, the one specific reason why I thought it would be useful to be a part of Accelerate, because I generally don't tend to be a part of these groupings, is because when you look at people behind Accelerate,
Yeah,
these are all folks whose central philosophy is built around creating value for customers.
yeah,
These are all folks who would never advocate to a founder to go back and raise tons of capital. They
yeah.
would always advise people and guide them on how to build a
Sustainable
business,
business.
right, which can be grown at a fast pace and yet does not require the kind of capital which people would look for. Now, this is something which is very different from a typical VC that you would get to see in these markets today, because see, each VC will come back with a timeline of 7 years, 8 years, 10
Yeah,
years in which they will have to exit their funds. So
yeah,
they have a fiduciary responsibility to their LPs, which they have to deliver to. And therefore, Madhav, it's their job to go and always push founders to create a business faster, bigger in a smaller time period. So, but Accelerate doesn't have that kind of a limitation. So, which is very, very exciting. And people behind it have actually done work on the ground. So they know what the real pain points of some of these early stage entrepreneurs and founders would be. And therefore, they are in a unique capacity to assist them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, sir. Really enjoyed your time. Super excited to keep following your journey, keep learning from you. As I said, I think Indiamart journey is super inspiring for thousands of young founders in the country, and we can't, wait to keep learning from you and keep following you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Karen. Really appreciate this.